Don't forget the lemons, she said, tossing her keys on the counter like nothing was ending. That was it. No tears. No build-up. No dramatic argument. Just that line, don't forget the lemons. And then, as if it were a passing detail, she added, "Oh, and I want a divorce." She said it while scrolling her phone, wearing those socks with tiny flamingos on them, the ones I bought her last Christmas because they made her laugh in the store. She didn't even look up. I stood there holding a bag of groceries, the same kind I'd been picking up every Tuesday for the last 4 years. Milk, oatmeal, toothpaste, lemons, always lemons. The first thing I thought was, did I actually remember the lemons? I checked. I did. The second thing I thought was, finally, not fear, not heartbreak, just clarity, like the silence after an alarm stops ringing. I set the bag down and nodded. Not at her, just to myself. She noticed. You don't have anything to say? I shrugged. Do you still want the lemons? That made her pause. For the first time, she looked uncertain. What? Should I still put them in the fruit bowl, or? She stared at me like I'd spoken in code. Maybe I had. Because what I really meant was, I'm done being the predictable one, the quiet one, the doormat, the lemon fetcher. I wasn't going to fight her. I wasn't going to beg. Because I'd already started something. Something she didn't know about. Something I hadn't told anyone, not even my brother, and I tell him everything. And while she was rehearsing her, I want a divorce line in the mirror, I was learning how to vanish. Not physically, emotionally, financially, digitally. She wanted a clean break. I was going to give her one, sharper than she ever expected. And in 4 days, she'd be the one knocking on my door, begging for a do-over. But there wouldn't be any lemons waiting. She left the house that evening humming, as if she hadn't just dropped a bomb and lit a match. She even texted me an hour later, remember to pay the water bill. It's still in your name, LOL. I didn't reply. Instead, I poured myself a glass of water, no lemon, and sat in the hallway where the echo was loudest. That's where I started erasing her, one login at a time. First, the streaming services. She loved those dumb reality shows with names like Love Under Quarantine and Too Many Roommates. All on my account. Gone. Next, the utilities. I pulled out my laptop and opened the spreadsheet I'd secretly built months ago. I had every account listed, bills, passwords, renewal dates. It took me less than an hour to have everything either canceled or transferred. She'd find out soon enough, probably while trying to watch her cooking show the next morning. A petty move? Sure. But it felt satisfying. That was just the beginning. I had been preparing for this without realizing it. Her cold shoulder had become so constant I began studying her routines just to keep myself sane. What she watched, when she left, who she texted. I never confronted her. I just observed. And what I saw told me everything I needed. Every Friday afternoon, like clockwork, she'd go visit her cousin. But I checked her cousin's Instagram one day. They were in Arizona for a month. Leona didn't even bother to cover it up. She assumed I was too dull to question her. She was half right. I didn't question her. I just started logging miles. Each time she left, I tracked the distance on her car's GPS from the insurance portal. 27 miles. Then 26. Then 28. Always the same general area. So, that Friday, just 4 days after she asked for the divorce, I took the day off work without telling her. She had no idea I was behind her at the gas station. No idea I watched her buy gum and an energy drink, apply lipstick in her rear view, and drive off like she was heading to a date. And no idea that I followed her, slowly, carefully, all the way to a small tan house on the edge of town, one I'd never seen before. She knocked. He opened the door. He kissed her. My heart didn't shatter. It didn't even crack. It just stopped caring. Because I finally had the confirmation I never needed. And I wasn't mad. I was motivated. I took a photo. Just one. Then I drove home, packed 3 bags, and started phase 2 of my plan, the part where I vanish in every way that matters. She asked for freedom. I was going to give it to her so completely that it would haunt her. And the best part? She wouldn't even know she'd been played. Not yet. When I got home after following her to that tan house, I didn't throw anything. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just walked into the bedroom. Ours, technically. And stared at the framed picture of us in Seattle. It was from 4 years ago. She had just pretended to love the rain. It hit me how easy it is to lie with your eyes when the person next to you is desperate to believe you. I took the picture down. Not to keep it. I wasn't sentimental anymore. but to remind myself what denial looks like when it's framed and dusted every weekend. Then I put it face down in a drawer and grabbed the first of 3 bags I'd packed in silence over the past week. Bag 1 had clothes. Bag 2 had the documents: passport, birth certificate, the title to my truck that she never cared to ask about. Bag 3 had cash. Not thousands, but enough. I'd been quietly pulling it out every time I got gas, every time I bought groceries. 40 here, 60 there. I called it my if I ever get smart fund. Turns out I did. Then came the bank account. We had a joint one, but I had my own too. One she didn't know about. Opened back when I was still trying to save for a surprise trip to Charleston she said she wanted, before she decided she hated the beach suddenly. I used that same hidden account now for something far more satisfying: the escape. I booked a long-term stay at a modest extended stay hotel an hour away. Not because I needed to hide, but because I wanted her to come home to nothing. I wanted silence to greet her. I wanted the absence to scream louder than any argument ever could. Then, at 4:17 a.m., I carried my bags to the truck, turned off my phone, and drove away from the house like it was on fire. Not once did I look in the rearview mirror. I had nothing left there. Not even a toothbrush. The next morning, I sent her a message. Simple. Cold. Surgical. House is yours. Utilities off next week. You asked for this. Hope he's worth it. Then I deleted the thread and turned the phone off again. I spent the next 2 days in total silence. No calls. No emails. Just me, the motel's weak coffee, and a view of the parking lot. It was perfect, because it was mine. And then, on day 3, at 6:42 p.m., she finally broke. I turned the burner phone on, a cheap flip model I'd grabbed at a gas station, and within seconds, the messages came flooding in. Where are you? Curtis, this isn't funny. Please pick up. We need to talk. I made a mistake. I need to see you. It was like watching someone try to put spilled wine back in the glass. I didn't respond. Instead, I took out the one photo I had printed of her and the man at the tan house. I slid it into an envelope, added no note, no name, just an address, and walked it to the front desk. She wanted answers. She was about to get a question that would eat her alive, and I hadn't even started the real game yet. I stood at the motel's front desk, watching the clerk lazily flip through a stack of tourist brochures. He barely looked up when I handed him the envelope. Can you drop this in your outgoing? I asked. He squinted at the address. No return. I shook my head. Doesn't need one. He nodded like this wasn't the strangest thing he'd seen that day, and I walked back to my room, heart weirdly steady. I thought I'd feel guilt, or maybe a thrill, but all I felt was stillness. Like a lake before a storm. That photo I sent her, the one with her kissing that man outside the tan house, was blurry, sure, but not blurry enough. She'd know it was her. She'd know it was real. And more importantly, she'd know I knew. That was the move. Not confrontation. Not revenge. Just exposure, quiet and cruel in its simplicity. A whisper instead of a scream. It took exactly 24 hours. At 7:03 the next evening, my burner phone started buzzing nonstop. 7 calls. 9 texts. A voicemail. Then another. I didn't listen right away. I made a sandwich first. Watched a rerun of a sitcom I didn't even like. Because she didn't get to dictate my time anymore. But eventually, curiosity won. I opened the first message. Curtis. Well, what is this? Where did you get that photo? Then, it's not what you think. Please. We need to talk. Then came the spiral. I messed up. I panicked. I didn't think you'd actually leave. You're not answering. I'm freaking out. I still have your hoodie. The blue one. It still smells like you. That one almost got me. Almost. But I knew better. That message wasn't about love. It was about control. About her realizing, for the first time, that I had slipped through her fingers, and she didn't even feel it happening. I played her last voicemail on low volume. Curtis, I don't know where you are, but please. I didn't mean to hurt you. I thought I wanted something else. But I don't. I swear I don't. I just want my husband back. I want you back. And right there, I laughed. A short, hollow kind of laugh. Because just 5 days ago, she said she wanted a divorce as casually as asking for lemons. Now she was trying to remember how I smelled. The thing is, I could have taken her back. I could have used this moment, her shame, her panic, as leverage. But I had already mourned her months ago. While she was off, visiting her cousin, I was grieving the woman she used to be. I was holding a funeral for the version of her who used to leave love notes in my lunch. Now I was free, not just from her, but from the need for her. So I turned the burner off again, tossed it into the motel's dumpster out back, let it buzz itself to death inside a bag of stale French fries and cigarette butts. She wanted a clean slate. I was giving it to her. No fights, no shouting, just absence. The kind of silence that lingers long after you realize what you lost. 2 days after I threw the burner phone in the dumpster, I finally logged into the shared calendar we used to have. It was synced across our devices for years. Grocery lists, birthdays, doctor appointments, dinner plans with friends we didn't even like anymore. She forgot to remove me. I wasn't looking for anything. Honestly, I just wanted to see if she'd erased me yet. If my name was still living in her future. It was Saturday, 6:30 p.m. Dinner with Nora and Trevor. Finally. Party popper. I stared at it for a while. That tiny confetti emoji felt like a slap. Like she was celebrating, moving on, while I was just watching from the outside. But then a thought came to me. Something dark, unplanned, and just a little cruel. Nora and Trevor weren't just friends. They were her curated audience. She always performed around them. Laughed too loud. Kissed too long. Showed off our relationship like it was handmade and flawless. The way she used to grip my hand under the table, as if to say, we're the example here. Remember that. I remembered. And I wanted her to be reminded of something, too. So I made a call. Trevor and I weren't close. Not really. But we had history. We'd worked on the same campaign 3 years ago, bonded over our shared hatred of kale smoothies and company retreats. He always respected me. Said I had depth. I always thought he was just being polite. But when I texted him, he responded in 3 minutes. Hey man, hope you're okay. We're not seeing you lately. You good? I replied, actually, not really. I think you should know something before Saturday. I sent him a photo. Not the blurry one. The second one, sharper, closer. Her hand on the guy's chest. His lips on her cheek. Definitely not her cousin. No context. No follow-up. I waited. It took him 5 minutes to call. What the hell is this? Trevor sounded winded, like he'd just run across the house. It's Leona. That's who you're having dinner with Saturday, right? Silence. I'm not trying to cause drama, I continued. But you've known me longer than you've known him. I figured you deserved to know. Another long pause. Then, you're not coming? I almost laughed. No, Trevor. I'm not coming. He sighed. Damn. Then something in his voice shifted. Softer. You didn't deserve that, Curtis. I nodded, even though he couldn't see it. Yeah, I know. When I hung up, I felt something I hadn't felt in weeks. Validation. Not revenge. Not power. Just clarity. Someone saw it. Someone other than me. And I knew what was coming next. Saturday night, she'd show up in her best dress. She'd wear her lipstick like armor. She'd expect the same applause she always got. But this time, Trevor wouldn't clap. Nora wouldn't gush. And there'd be an empty seat across from her that would say more than I ever could. She wanted to show the world she was winning. I was going to let her lose, quietly, publicly, undeniably. And I wouldn't have to lift a finger. I didn't go near the restaurant that night. Didn't need to. I knew exactly how it would play out, and imagining it was better than witnessing it. I pictured her walking in with that expensive perfume she saved for special nights, the kind that made strangers turn twice, made me feel lucky once. She'd wear that smug half-smile, expecting the spotlight to fall into place, like it always did when she was among friends. She wouldn't notice anything at first. Not right away. The drinks would be ordered. Small talk. Forced laughter. But then, Trevor would go quiet. Nora would glance between them. Someone would mention my name. That's when the first crack would form. And later, when she'd ask, what's wrong? In that gentle, fake concerned voice, Trevor would look her dead in the eyes and ask, so, who's the guy in the photo? That moment would hit her harder than any slap. She wouldn't cry there, of course. She's too proud for that. No, she'd make it through the meal, barely. She might even joke, deflect, blame me. She's good at that. But the silence on the drive home? That's when the panic would start. I know, because it came for me once, too. The night I realized I was alone, emotionally, even though she was right beside me in bed. It comes slowly, a crawl behind your ribs. The first time you realize that someone who used to need you simply doesn't. Around 11:40 that night, I got the message. How could you humiliate me like that? No context. No explanation. Just rage. Which meant only one thing. It worked. I didn't answer. I went for a walk instead. Past the closed gas station, through a neighborhood I didn't know. I looked up at lit windows, families eating leftovers, people watching TV, kids sneaking sodas when parents weren't looking. All of it felt like another life. One I'd never been part of. Back at the motel, I lay on the bed staring at the popcorn ceiling, her message still unread. Then another one came in. You're really not going to answer me? I waited. Then a third. You think you've won, but you haven't. You're pathetic. There it was, the shift. From guilt to panic. From panic to blame. She didn't want me back. Not really. She just hated that she didn't get to decide when it ended. That I had taken away the script, her ability to walk away while still looking like the victim. And that's when I realized, this was never about love. It was about power. For years, she chipped away at me in quiet ways. Rolling her eyes when I told stories. Making me feel stupid for caring about the things I liked. Laughing when I tried to be vulnerable. Death by 1,000 sighs. And now that I'd taken myself off the board, she had nowhere to place her blame. Nowhere to aim her drama. I was done being her mirror. And as I drifted off that night, I felt something strange. Not peace. Not closure. But satisfaction. Because this time, the silence was mine. 2 weeks passed without a word. It was the quietest my life had been in years. No accusations, no sarcastic remarks disguised as jokes, no icy silence when I said the wrong thing, which was apparently always. I had begun to forget her voice. And yet, some part of me still waited for the next crack in the dam. Because people like Leona don't vanish. They reload. They reinvent the narrative. They find a new role to play, and cast you as the villain whether you showed up to the scene or not. It came on a Thursday. I'd driven back into town, not because I missed her, but because I needed a file from our old storage unit. One she'd never bothered with. My name was still on the lease. When I stepped inside, the stale air hit me like a memory I didn't ask for. The plastic bins were right where I'd left them, labeled in her perfect handwriting. Summer clothes, decor, Curtis junk. That last one made me pause. I opened it slowly, expecting nothing more than old chargers and tangled cords. But near the bottom was something I hadn't seen in years, a sealed envelope with my name on it. My full name. Written in my own handwriting. I stared at it for a long time, confused. Then I remembered. It was the letter I wrote to myself 2 years ago, after she threatened to leave me the first time. A letter I never intended to open, something I buried as a reminder of who I was when I felt like I was drowning. But apparently, I had forgotten to destroy it. Worse, it had already been opened. The flap was torn. The crease was fresh. And in that moment, I knew she'd read it. Every word. Every confession I had poured out in secret. I sat on the cold cement floor and read it again. It was raw. Pathetic, honestly. I had written about how lost I felt, how scared I was of being alone, how I thought I'd die without her. I used words like anchor, forever, broken. It was the kind of letter that would make any reasonable person cringe. But now it had become a weapon. A snapshot of a man I no longer was, but a version she would cling to, twist, and use. I was right. By the time I got back to the motel that night, I had 4 missed calls from an unknown number. A new voicemail. Her voice came through my speaker, syrupy and nostalgic. I found something today. Something you wrote. It made me cry, because I missed that version of you. The one who loved me without question. The one who didn't play games. There was a pause. Then, you're not that man anymore. And I think that's the saddest part. She hung up. I didn't scream. I didn't throw the phone. I just sat with the weight of it. Because I knew what she was doing. She was trying to rewrite the ending. She wanted to drag me back into the version of me that begged for her to stay. The one who left love notes. Who apologized first. Who believed that loyalty was stronger than pride. But that version of me only existed when I believed her love was real. Now I saw it for what it was, conditional. Useful only when I was weak. So I opened my laptop and wrote a different kind of letter. This one not to myself, but to the leasing office of the house we used to share. I asked them to remove my name from the records. I gave up the deposit. Told them she could have it all. She wanted the house. Let her keep the walls where everything fell apart. I was done leaving pieces of myself behind. I didn't think there would be a moment where I'd feel grateful for any of it. Not the betrayal. Not the silence. Not the way she looked me in the eyes and asked for a divorce like she was ordering takeout. Not the lies. Not the late-night whispers to someone else while I lay beside her pretending to sleep. But here I was, 3 months later, sitting in a tiny sunlit room with bare walls and an open window, and for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like a ghost in someone else's story. The air smelled like lemon soap and cut grass. I hadn't heard her voice in 48 days. Not a message, not a missed call, nothing. She stopped trying when she realized she could no longer reach the version of me she remembered. The man who bent, who broke, who begged. He was gone. Or maybe he never existed outside of her control. And me? I didn't rebuild overnight. It was messy. I cried. I doubted. I stayed up too late staring at my ceiling, wondering if I made it all worse than it really was. But eventually, the ache faded, and something else took its place. Stillness. Then, unexpectedly, joy. I joined a cooking class. Nothing serious, just Wednesday nights at a community center with strangers who don't know my history. I laugh more now. I learned to make risotto. I made friends with a retired mailman named Gus. He tells awful jokes. They make me laugh anyway. I also started running again. Early mornings, before the sun starts judging you. At first, I hated it. My knees complained. But somewhere around week 3, I stopped checking my pace. I just ran. Not from something. Not toward anything. Just forward. I even bought myself a new coffee mug. Deep navy blue. Heavy in the hand. I don't know why, but it makes me feel grounded. Sometimes I think about the last words she said to me. You're not that man anymore. And I think that's the saddest part. But she was wrong. It's not sad at all. Because I became someone stronger. Someone who doesn't measure love by how much pain he's willing to carry. Someone who still buys lemons, but now, only when he wants them. And that quiet room with the open window, it's mine.